This is the review and install of the cheapest cold air intake available on eBay for a 2003 S10. As you can see here, it's $70. The kit comes with the nylon couplings, the air filter, the 5 clamps, the crankcase relief, the metal tubes, and some miscellaneous hardware. First, you remove this 10mm bolt that holds the airbox on. Then remove the clamp that connects the lower intake to the upper intake. Undo the air temperature sensor clip from the back of the air temperature sensor. Undo this clip to remove the line so you can pull the lower intake under, to slide it under like you see here. Next is undoing the clamp that connects the upper intake to the throttle body assembly. Remove this 10mm bolt that holds the box to the intake manifold. On the back side of the motor, there is a tube that is for crankcase ventilation into the intake. You have to undo that tube and undo the clamp and remove it. Next, you simply just wobble the upper intake off of the throttle body assembly, like so. The reason that I'm replacing mine is because mine is cracked. I'm not doing this for performance, strictly because it was cheaper than buying a new box. So as you can see here, I already have some of it test fitted, but what I'm doing is pulling out the cold air sensor, or the air temperature sensor. And I tried to put it in when it was installed, but it doesn't work. You have to take the actual grommet out of the bung to be able to slide it in and then install it on a table, like so. You can see here, you just kind of have to wedge it in with a screwdriver. It's a lot easier to do it on the table. See that it sits in there pretty good. You can see down, see that it's hanging out in there nice. So next is putting the filter on. The filter doesn't quite fit right, so you have to kind of wedge it on, and while you're doing that, it kind of cuts the rubber a little bit, so you have to make sure that all that's cleared out before you install it back on the car. And just make sure that you tighten up the clamp really well, because it doesn't fit very well. It doesn't slide down very far on the tube, so you have to try to get as much traction as you can. When putting the elbow on, make sure the long side of the elbow is where the throttle body is. As you can see here, it just slides on. It was somewhat cold when I was doing this, so the rubber wasn't very malleable and it was kind of hard to slide on. Next, you put the J-tube on with the extra port towards the left, like so. You will eventually be connecting the engine crankcase ventilation to that port with that long black tube, and just make sure you clamp it down. Put the other coupling on with 2 clamps, and then slide the lower portion of the air intake. I don't have the filter on it in this portion, but the filter should already be on. And then you slide it in with the, you see the air temperature sensor pointed back, so it's easier to clip in. Just make sure that you get it all the way in, and when you're clamping it down, I like to put the tops of the clamps where they're easily reachable in case I ever have to take them back off, like so. So I moved them all back up, tightened them on, made it very easy. My clip didn't actually reach the new portion, so I had to lengthen it with some wire. But once you've done all that, make sure that these 2 clamps are tight, that you've got the tube all the way back to the crankcase relief. With those clamps actually came off the old one. Those are new clamps. I extended air temperature sensor, and that's where the hardware is supposed to bolt to, but it doesn't actually come with enough hardware to make it so it's standard. So you can see that if it just slops there, it just almost touches the AC compressor. So what I did is I bolted the one cross member to there, and then I tilted it or turned it, kind of bent it, put the L bracket in, and used one of the hose clamps from the old intake to hose clamp the piece to it so that it'll at least stay in one place. My intent is to buy an intake that is actually better quality, so I don't have to do this Mickey Mouse nonsense, but for intents and purposes, because I needed it so that the check engine light would go off, I needed to put a different intake on it. So that's what it looks like. So if there's any questions or concerns, please drop a comment. Let me know if there's anything you need.